here is one more example of the cosine law. This is where you have all three sides and you're looking for one of the angles. I call this one you're surrounded because you have all the sides. So you have side, 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 SSS, but you don't have an angle. So when you have all of these, you can find out any of the angles from this. In this case, we're going to find angle B, which means the version of the cosine law I'm going to use has cos of B and B squared. So you can either write it out like this and then plug in everything you know. So 8 for side B, 11 for side A, and 14 for side C. So all of that has been plugged in here. And then instead of doing the math, it's been plugged in here. Instead of doing the math separately and getting a whole bunch of answers and trying to keep everything straight, what I've done next is rearranged it. So keep in mind the thing that I underlined in red is all one term. So you have to keep it together until the very last step. You can't do 11 squared plus 14 squared minus whatever 2 times 11 times 14 is, and then like put all of this together. It will not work. It is bad math if you do that. You have to keep this separate from these things because they're being added, subtracted, and this 2 times 11 times 14 is being multiplied by cos B, so it is all one piece that has to stay together. So what I've done from here to here is I just took the 11 and the 14 that are both squared and subtracted them from both sides, so now they're over here. So 8 squared minus this is equal to everything that I underlined in red above here. And then, since all of these things are being multiplied together now, you can divide them out on both sides. So this is what I had here, 8 squared minus 11 squared minus 14 squared, divided by negative 2 times 11 times 14, and that will give me cos B. So if I type that into the calculator, I'm going to put everything on the top in brackets and then divide it by the things on the bottom. If I don't put everything on the top in brackets, it's going to just divide, when I put a division sign right here, it's going to divide 14 squared by this and not the whole thing. So you can either type in the top separately and find the answer and then divide it by this answer, or you can do something like this. 8 squared minus 11 squared minus 14 squared. Close the brackets, and then I'm going to divide by everything on the bottom. Negative 2 times 11 times 14. And I'm going to get this. So that is what cos of B is. So to undo the cosine, I have to do inverse cos. So shift or second function. So you have inverse cos of the answer. And then I'm going to get 34.77, or about 35 degrees. Ignore that math error. I hit something while I moved the calculator. Okay? The other option is to remember this version of the rearranged cosine formula. So it looks like this, but all the negatives have gone away now, and only this one's negative and everything else is positive. What we've done is divided everything by -1, so this becomes negative, and these become positive, which would be this is negative, and these are positive, and this is positive. So this is an easier one to work with because it's already rearranged, so you don't have to deal with any of this and make mistakes in your rearranging or your math here. So cosine of B has to go with the one up here that's negative, and then AC goes with the 2AC, just like here. B goes with cosine B, AC goes with AC. So you can leave it like this, or you can write it like this. So you have B by itself, or you can keep cosine B by itself. Either way is going to work. Now my calculator doesn't like when I do this all in one step. I will get an error pretty much every time, even if I do all my brackets correctly, and there's a lot of brackets here. So I'm going to show you how this works in 2 steps. So basically I'm going to do everything that's in this bracket, and then I'm going to do the inverse cos at the end. So just like over with this one, I'm going to put brackets on the outside. So I have a bracket, 11 squared plus 14 squared minus 8 squared. So that's all of this stuff on the top in brackets, divided by, and then I'm going to bracket everything on the bottom, 2 times 11 times 14. If you don't put brackets around these, like I said before, it's going to think only the 8 and only the 2 are part of the division. So if I just did divided by, no bracket, 2 times, that should be 11 times 14. If I did it without that bracket sign in front of the 2 and after the 14, it's just going to think I'm dividing it by 2 and then multiplying the whole thing by 11 and 14, but I need to divide those. So I get this, and that will be what cosine of B is equal to. So inverse cosine, whoops, let me type it in again. Now that I edited, it's going to make a mess. 11 squared plus 14 squared minus 8 squared, close the bracket, divided by 2 times 11 times 14. So I have brackets around the top, brackets around the bottom. I get this, and then inverse cosine of the answer gives me the same answer as I got over here. You can also do this separately. So you can do 11 squared is 121, and you can do 14 squared is 196, and we know 8 squared is 64. So then you can add 121 plus, what was it, 196 minus 64, and you get 253 on the top. And over here, you would have to do it separately. This and this would be separate from the 64. And then you could also go 2 times 11 times 14, and we get this on the bottom. So 253 divided by, yeah, see now I can't remember my number, 308. Would give me this whole thing, and then inverse cos of that would work. Or you could do inverse cos of 253 over 308, all in brackets. That would also work. Lots of different ways to type it in, so find the way that works best for you and stick with it. Make sure it works. Make sure you're using brackets and fractions and stuff correctly, and then go with whatever works for you. I would recommend you actually try this one and the one from the last video, this one. Make sure you get the correct answers that I'm getting, and then you'll know how your calculator works for you.